Have you ever been made to question your own sanity and reality? Did you know that you might have actually been brainwashed or mind controlled? What you experienced is called gaslighting, something narcissists are an expert at. Hi, I'm Dr. Kerry Kerr McAvoy, a mental health clinician and a survivor of narcissistic abuse, and this is the 20th episode of Toxic Love. If you're interested in unraveling the dynamics of a pathological love relationship, be sure to subscribe to this channel where each week we dismantle the mechanisms of a toxic partnership. And consider showing your support by hitting the like button if you're enjoying this video. So, let's dive into the eerie world of gaslighting. Why do narcissists resort to the psychological manipulation? And what are the most common ways they employ this tool? In this episode, we're going to demystify the process of gaslighting and reveal how to protect yourself if you ever find yourself targeted. And you're going to want to stick around to the end to learn what the most dangerous form of gaslighting that narcissists use. Gaslighting is a manipulative tactic where the abuser subtly tries to make the victim doubt their memory, perception, or sanity. It's a technique adopted straight out of a psychological thriller, yet it happens in many relationships far too often, especially ones involving a narcissist. It is an insidious strategy used to gain control and power over a victim. It was first introduced in the 1944 movie called Gaslight, where the husband manipulates his wife into believing she's losing her mind. The title of the film is where the term gaslighting comes from. If you've seen it, you will remember the husband removes items, creates strange sounds in the middle of the night, and manipulates the gas lights in their home.
Oh, please don't turn your back on me. What has happened?
You mean you don't know?
No,
Look.
Yes.
Yet, while this is happening, he twists her reality, going so far as to deny that the lights are actually flickering in front of him, even when his wife is pointing it out, making her question her own sanity.
Gregory, are you trying to tell me I'm insane?
It's what I'm trying not to tell myself.
But that's what you think, isn't it? That's what you've been hinting and suggesting for months now, ever since...
Since what?
Since the day I lost your brooch.
Oh.
Gaslighting, at its core, has the power to make a person question their own reality. So why is this tactic so favored by narcissists? Well, remember, narcissists are heavily invested in protecting their inflated self-importance in order to protect themselves from experiencing shame. Couple this with their profound lack of empathy, and they consider it within their rights to do whatever it takes to maintain their grandiose yet fragile self-image, especially when it gives them the added benefit of control over the victims to reduce their exposure to vulnerability. Gaslighting lets them bend reality to their whims. This is ideal since it allows them to hide their faults while projecting their insecurities on you, their victim. And when you think about it, this is a very sick tactic, even what I would consider evil. So here are some common forms of gaslighting to be watching out for. First, denial by lying. Narcissists will lie or outright deny that an event occurred even when you have clear evidence. The goal here is to create doubt in you, leaving you feeling uncertain what's real. A common example of this is,
I don't know what you're talking about.
Or,
I didn't do that.
Number 2, deflection. Instead of addressing the issue at hand, they shift the blame onto you or others as a way to avoid responsibility for their actions. Common examples of this are,
You're too sensitive. You're always overreacting.
These comments make you question your feelings and responses instead of dealing with the original problem. Number 3, trivialization. This is when your feelings or experiences are minimized or invalidating, making you feel like you're overreacting or that your concerns aren't legitimate. An example of this is,
Bad things happen to everybody, but you don't see them acting like it's a big deal.
or
Are you going to let this ruin your day?
Number 4, diverting. They might question your credibility, diverting this conversation and turning the tables on you. A common example of this is,
I'm not going to rehash all of this with you over again.
or
Are you doing this on purpose to hurt me?
number 5, forgetting through denial. This is when they pretend to forget an event or a conversation or deny that it ever happened. A common example of this is,
I don't know what you're talking about.
or
It never happened. You must have remembered it wrong.
gaslighting often begins subtle and gradual, like slow poison. It's not just one big lie, but rather a series of deceptions and manipulations that occur over time. The real danger is when gaslighting leads to a phenomenon called Gaslight Syndrome. Remember I told you about that scary thing I want to tell you about at the end? This is it. This is when a toxic person has their partner labeled as insane and gets them institutionalized. Research suggests that this may be more prevalent than we've commonly thought. It usually occurs in a sadomasochistic romantic relationship riddled with strong themes of sexual jealousy. The toxic partner then attempts to end the relationship by having the spouse declared mentally ill and gets them hospitalized. Netflix's second season of Dirty John centers around the true story of Betty Broderick.
I was married for 16 years. Then he turns 40 and he's walking out with a 19-year-old and a sports car. And had me committed to a psych ward. I'm not the crazy one, he is.
Betty, after 16 years of marriage filled with mental torment, is abandoned by her husband for a much younger love interest, someone she suspected he'd been cheating with for years, though he denied it. The abuse continued as they entered into the legal battle for divorce. In an emotional moment of desperation, she enters his home one night and shoots and kills him and his new wife in their bed.
This is such a complicated case. There's no way I can explain this. On my birthday, I slit my wrists earlier that month because I was so upset that he didn't come home and he was treating me so bad. And he kept denying the affair and telling me that I was imagining things and stuff. And I said, you know, you get rid of that girl at the office or get out of my house. And he said, well, there's nothing going on with that girl. You're crazy. And by the way, this is my house, and if you don't like something, you can get out. Mm-hmm. And then it led up to his birthday. And we're still talking in 1983. What you're calling the murders didn't happen until 1989. And it only got worse and worse and worse as it all escalated and progressed.
Okay.
The affair was not the worst part. I mean, it was the start, but the legal assault and abuse was something that no one could have withstood, male, female, or anything.
Victims suffering from gaslighting syndrome internalizes the gaslighting to the point that they end up with an altered perception of reality, severe loss of self-esteem, and are left with significant mental health issues. Protecting yourself from gaslighting involves recognizing it and taking steps to maintain your sanity. And that's not always easy to do. It's hard to spot these manipulations because they're often veiled with expressions of care and concern. So if you're feeling doubtful of your interpretation of reality or of your feelings, consider this exercise to help clarify things. Consider writing down what happens to you, like a moment in time, as if you're a playwright scripting a scene. Include the conversations, they said, I said, they said, and then every action that happens. And then ask yourself this: does this make sense? Is things adding up? Does what they say line up with behavior? You might find it helpful to ask an objective person that you trust for their take on what you've written, like a therapist or a coach with expertise in narcissistic abuse. Stick to your truth, but don't argue the point. You're not going to convince this person that you're right. Instead, be ready and willing to walk away from any conversation that feels unsafe. I know this can be frustrating, but in this situation, you're not going to win. Instead, prepare what your next step is going to be to protect yourself from this toxic relationship. Did you find this video helpful in identifying and understanding gaslighting? If so, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to this channel. But maybe you know someone who could benefit from this information. Please share this episode with them. And if you enjoyed this episode, then be sure to check out last week's when I describe how to spot dangerous people. And you're not going to want to miss next week when I get into financial abuse. Hey, big hugs. Stay strong and safe.
I'll bring you that.